King Thor issue 4 sees Thor face all black the Necroverse, bringing forth the wrath of Ragnarok as Thor the Endfather. He battles the omnipresent Gorr, who captures him, proclaiming that he is everything now, and he opens a black hole, saying Thor will be swallowed by it and butchered on a molecular level by the universe. As Thor is swallowed, Gorr tells him that in his new universe, gods will never have existed and he will be the anti-Genesis. Suddenly Loki arrives, attacking Gorr, but it's futile as he's stabbed by the god Butcher's tentacles, as he says that he hereby executes him for his crimes that are too vast and vile to mention. Loki says that he doesn't need his sword or hammers or even his arms or eyes to battle the god Butcher, he only needs one word. In the black hole, Thor calls for his father, saying that he was right to think Thor wasn't strong enough or worthy enough. He reaches out for Mjolnir, knowing that the spirit of the hammer is to smite, but he knows Odin never thought he was worthy of knowing what is the spirit of thunder. Thor calls for his father, unleashing his lightning and ripping himself out of the black hole, destroying Gorr's planets. The lightning dies down as Thor's granddaughters find the unconscious Thor, hoping he is not dead. Down on Midgard, the people think that Thor has saved them, but one of them wonders why the sun is still dark. Loki meanwhile rides the tired Tooth Gnasher towards the sun, saying that they have one last story to tell. In the present on Omnipotent City, Shadrach knocks over a shelf of books, pleading to the librarian to let him clean it up. The librarian learns he knocked over the Thor section and knows that the floor is fine for those and he doesn't need to clean them up. Shadrach knows that he can't mean that, but the librarian says that he literally wrote the book on godly history, so he knows how much trouble Thor and his backwards Asgardian rabble-rousers have caused, and Thor will be the death of them. Shadrach doesn't think so, since Thor has saved many worlds and lives. The librarian, however, says that some of the adventures have yet to happen, and by the looks of it, Thor is going to be busy. Many years later, two rival Orlogs accuse each other of stealing worshippers and plan on bombing each other's churches. The responding Thor cop employs the usual tactic, getting each god to try and lift his enchanted hammer to prove themselves the worthiest. The gods can't lift the hammer, however, and Officer Odin's son picks up his hammer, saying it proves neither of them is worthy, so he's docking them both 1 million Omni-Alms, warning them that the next time they try something like this, they will be thrown into hell jail for a few million days, with the con gods who will surely kill them over a few measly prayers. The gods shake hands and Officer Odin's son gets to work on other crimes throughout the galaxy, but soon those ended, leading to the 1000 Nights of Ragnarok, where Daemon Hellstrom, the satanic sorcerer supreme, puts the galaxy under spiritual quarantine. He battles the neon demons of Argonol, whom have possessed the stars itself. As a fellow Avenger, Thor the Thunderworld arrives to help. That age soon passed, and eons later a beast fights a man in the frozen jungles of Jotunheim. The man is Thor, who regained his form but lost his mind thanks to a psychic assassin, causing him to become amnesiac and soon turn into Thor, Lord of the Ice Apes. Thor also, surprisingly enough, has fallen in love with a frost giant, which led to the birth of his firstborn son, the Giant of Thunder, who would one day sit on the throne of Asgard. In the present, the Norn's keep is rebuilt and Baldur swears that the Norns this time will never be harmed again, vowing in Karnilla's name. In Manhattan, Jane Foster watches the sunrise as she transforms into the Valkyrie, taking to the sky. At the Rainbow Bridge of Asgard, Sif watches the entire 10 realms, seeing everything from the elves of Alfheim to the dwarves dreaming of Nidavellir. She can't seem to see Heimdall though, knowing that wherever he is, she prays that he is resting well and he knows Asgard stands protected with her. Thor meanwhile tells Mjolnir he leaves it on the throne of Asgard because if he can't move it out of the way to sit on the throne, then he doesn't deserve to sit there. He grabs the hammer, picking it up and assuming the duties of All-Father, at least for another day. He tells Mjolnir it has been a long road to get there, and he's excited to see where they go from there. Down in Asgard, the rebuilt city sleeps quietly as a voice says that the stories are all that's left behind, and some are told over and over, and the greatest never die and stand immortal. The book Shadrach has been reading ends, and he doesn't want it to end there, but enough stories are in the library so he can keep reading forever. The librarian shouts at him to get back to work, and Shadrach says that maybe he will read another one tomorrow since the books aren't going anywhere. In the far future on the planet Indigar, Gorr has lost his mind to the void after the Necrosword was destroyed, turning him into a simple man who lives on the planet's gardens under the watchful eyes of some loving gods. On Midgard, Thor and his granddaughters now live amongst the mortals, working with them to rebuild their civilizations. Thor wakes from his Odin sleep, his body regrown as he looks out onto new Midgard, but soon he feels melancholy, visiting the sun and looking over his brother Loki's sacrifice to reignite the dying star and powering it not with lies, but with stories. While the sun lives, the universe did not, and nothing was left to power it, causing it to decay and collapse. Thor knows what must be done, telling his granddaughters that they have proven themselves over and over, and it's time for him to give them their true birthright. He drops Mjolnir on the ground, saying goodbye to his family as he boards his ship, sailing into the entropy and the heart of the dying universe, where he calls for his father, saying that he knows the answer and wants to show him the spirit of thunder. Thor fires his lightning into the void as the book reveals that Thor was frightened of thunder as a child, so much so that Odin became enraged, calling forth a storm that shook the realm eternal. But in the morning, Thor was found without a tear in his eye, and he never cried again. However, Odin foolishly missed the fact that the storms were not making Thor upset. The storms were his crying, and as Thor's first words were spoken in thunder, so will be his last. The lightning rocks Midgard as one of the men tells his children not to be afraid of the lightning, since it's the sound of a loving god who fights the darkness for them. He settles in around the fire with his children, getting ready to tell them the story of Thor. King Thor issue 4 capped off not just this 4-issue miniseries chronicling Thor's past, present and future, but also Jason Aaron's massive 5+ year run on the character. To say this was an utterly satisfying and moving finale would be kind of a disservice to the story, since it's so much more than that, but words escape me on just how to detail how amazing all of this is and how it culminates years of work and actually makes sense, which is an achievement unto itself. Aaron's knack for diving into characters and exploring what makes them tick is an art unto itself, and I think it's safe to say that he redefined what it means for Thor to be Thor, making him a wholly more interesting character than he already was before Jason took up the book. I'm excited to see what the future has for Thor, as well as what Donny Cates has in store for the All-Father of Thunder. But my gods, they're going to have some big shoes to fill. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.